Hello, good evening, and welcome back. So if there's ever been a time for community and faith, then surely the last few months have been it. Whenever there is a difficulty, it is important to be able to have a group of people, a social network, if you will, to be able to help you through it. And having the faith that things will get better, and that if you keep at it, you will earn a reward of sorts for your life and those around you. That level of hope as well is what keeps people going, that there's nothing stronger than the power of the human will, the human mind, and therefore it is that optimism, dedication and perseverance which needs to be fostered in difficult times of any nature. And so, since last August, because of the difficulties with getting people to churches for Christian worship, a organisation of Church on the Streets set up and thought, well, hey, how about instead of having people coming together within a church and then getting too close to each other and, with group restrictions and all that, instead, let us do it all outside, in car parks as well, so that people can still stay in their cars and participate in the service. And as it is a Christian organisation, they feed the homeless as well. Win-win, everyone's happy. Except, no, some members of the public from Nottingham didn't take too kindly to that. And so the police got involved, and after their encouraging and explaining and their phrases that they have to use, they decided that was enough of that. And yes, of course, it's been helping the community in various ways, not just through spiritual means, but as I say, through helping the homeless and the hungry, who are facing a more difficult time now because people are going outside less, in which case there'd be less donations to the poorer folk. The police had enough and fined the pastor £10,000 for hosting a street church event in a pub car park. The best explanation I can find as a reason for this is because although religious gatherings are permitted, which is just to say Islam, although they're permitted, they can't be happening on a premise that has to be closed, even if it is a car park adjacent to it. So because pubs can't be open, they're not allowed to use the car park. That's the best explanation I can find, which sounds ridiculous on the face of it, and it most likely is just utterly ridiculous in its entirety, given that if the pub is closed, but the landlord or landlady still provides permission for their car park to be used for this other event, then surely that's an excellent place to do it, because that car park isn't going to be used for the premise which owns it, because they're closed. So it makes sense, at least to me, as the ideal place to set up, but apparently not. So, from the Nottinghamshire Live, the organiser of a car park church worship in Bulwell has vowed to fight a £10,000 fine issued by police for running the event. Pastor Shez Dyer, 47, organised the Church on the Streets event at the Top House pub car park, attended by more than 30 people on Saturday, February 20th. These are events Pastor Shez has been running since August and consist of worshippers attending a car park for a church service in their vehicles before being fed outdoors. So it all seems to be above board, straightforward, and she's not trying to hide anything either, obviously. The services also help to feed the homeless and have a food stall in attendance for between 15 and 20 people each week. Brilliant. Yep, they might be concerned about catching the coof, but I think they're more concerned about dying of starvation. So food kind of takes priority over exposing yourself to the coof there. However, the Bulwell event was shut down by officers from Nottinghamshire Police, who said they have been advising the organisers for the past few weeks that the events are not allowed. On what grounds? Well, if we skip to the bottom, then we have actually got the government guidance and their official statements of what they say about places of worship. So, a place of worship refers to a building used for regular religious ceremonies, communal worship or similar gatherings by religious organisations. It includes the use of surrounding grounds, for example, adjoining car parks, courtyards or gardens, for which the venue managers are also responsible. Fair enough. So that is, in regular day-to-day times, that is the place of worship. Fantastic. However, given this scenario, what have we got? Well, the guidance also covers premises when being used for religious gatherings, even when their primary purpose is not for religious gatherings, such as a community centre. Okay? These premises will only be able to be used when they are permitted to be open and additional guidance may be applicable. And that seems to be the particular sticking point, which, as I said at the top, doesn't make sense, because if the place is closed, then their car park's not going to be used for anything else. This guidance does not cover educational establishments, public parks, private homes, cultural sites, or other open spaces such as woodlands, which may be used for religious purposes, pagans in particular. If people do want to engage in worship in these spaces, then the guidance relevant to that place should be adhered to. So, because it is guidance related to the pub, it's not allowed, as far as I understand. This guidance applies to places of worship only and does not apply to private dwellings. Yes, if you wish to return the church back to its roots and be an individual and gather your favourites from around, you are not permitted to do so. So, in response, as the pastor is going to be contesting it, she says, "It's disappointing receiving the fine, but I will be contesting it and going the whole way with it. My biggest concern is the effect it's going to have on the service and the people we have coming to us regularly. The event organiser works as part of the Cornerstones Fellowship Nottingham UK scheme, which helps to support people in the community, including feeding the homeless." So they seem to be, at the very least, having a positive intent and output, and they're not demanding anything from anybody or forcing anything upon anybody. None of that at all. It's all voluntary. Beautiful. So, she says, "With what's going on, and with people's mental health, so many people are on the brink of suicide." Yes, and we've seen that go up dramatically during the lockdown. Completely correct. She continues, "We've had it all, and that alone makes me determined to take up my legal rights to worship. We are the spiritual doctors that aren't on furlough. I work alongside the police. It's not a them against us thing. We've got our part, and they've got their part. It's just all about them exercising their part when their inspector tells them to. They've got a job to do, but as spiritual lifesavers, we've got a job to do." And that might be a bit hyperbolic, but, as I say, hope, optimism, determinism, or dedication rather, is actually vital in keeping people to have a meaning, which then encourages them to keep themselves alive and is then their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, if you will, as they're not being forced to do things. So, yes, you can actually save somebody's life like that, just like the Samaritans could be called lifesavers. It's very similar. And it is important to illustrate that they're not against the police as such. It is just the particular inspectors that take a dim view of Christianity in this regard, instead of course, preventing stabbings or helping out the victims of victim crimes. So, Nottinghamshire Police adds, from Inspector James Walker in particular, said, "Over the past few weeks we've been advising this group, having been made aware of events they have held in Bulwell. Initially, we've been engaging, explaining, and encouraging as to the importance of following the current national lockdown restrictions, which is to protect the NHS, save lives, and keep people safe." If you're talking about saving lives, then I'd say it's quite accurate to say that is what they're doing. If you're talking about protecting the NHS, no, I don't wish to. I really don't. I do not wish to have my property forcefully taken away from me at gunpoint, or at risk of having all my other freedoms stripped away and being locked in a cell through the form of taxation. In which case, if I must, then I'm not going to go out of my way in order to protect this entity which is already mugging me. That seems ridiculous. That is taking it way over the line. It's already immoral. Let's not make it any worse. And as far as keeping people safe, well, what else do they need to do? If they're outside and they're in vehicles, are you now going to be coming out to traffic jams and saying, "Oh, this isn't allowed either"? No, of course not. So why are you targeting this particular group? Oh, well, that's because they've had members of the public who have come forward and said, "We don't really appreciate this." I was like, okay, right, you don't appreciate this. Are you Christian or partaking in these services? No. So do you think you'll be mixing with anybody who wishes to mix in these circles? No. Brilliant. What's your concern then? I was like, oh, because protect the NHS. Oh, right. So now you're lauding your own particular preferences over other people and using state force in order to apply your own opinion. I have no time or respect for that attitude whatsoever. by all means, speak up, explain yourself. But don't try getting the monopoly on the use of force involved just because you disagree with somebody. It seems that we've lost a sense of humanity, which is exactly what the Christian worship here is trying to foster back again. But until we return to our roots, I'm guessing that this is going to be what happens again and again and again. So please do share the story around the video if you feel so inclined, but otherwise the article I'll post in the description just to get the word out as another example of what is being done, not when it is Islam, of course, but when it is Christianity. And let us all hope and support the pastor in being able to fight this off, because we all know where this goes. If when they came for the conspiracy theorists, I didn't speak up because I wasn't one. When they came for the Christians, I didn't speak up because I wasn't one. When they came for me, nobody spoke up because there was nobody left. But let me know what you guys think down below. And as always, until next time, have a good one.